Welcome back to the deep dive. Look, usually when we start these conversations, we try to ease you in.
Right.
We pick a topic that feels safe, maybe something about technology or history, and we sort of peel back the layers slowly.
Mm.
But today we are ripping the Band-Aid off right at the start.
We really are. There is no wading into the shallow end with this one. We are diving straight into the deep end of biology, and, well, frankly, it's a little uncomfortable down here.
Uncomfortable is one word for it. Mortifying might be another.
Yeah, that works too.
Because today, we are turning the lens strictly on ourselves. And I don't mean ourselves as in you and me specifically, or even our culture.
Right.
We are looking at the human animal.
Right, the base model.
The base model.
Yeah.
We are stripping away the clothes, the civilization, the polite dinner conversation, and looking at the raw biological machinery underneath. And to be honest, the picture, it isn't exactly flattering. It's actually kind of ridiculous.
It is. It really is. We often like to think of humans as these, highly sophisticated intellectual beings.
The top of the food chain.
Exactly. Distinct from the animal kingdom. We sit in air-conditioned rooms. We debate philosophy. We launch rockets. We tell ourselves we've transcended our biology. But the material we are covering today, it really just strips all of that away.
Completely.
It argues that if you look closely, we are actually the weirdest, most inefficient, and most obsessed animals on the planet.
Completely strips it away. Literally. Because the source material we're diving into today suggests that if you look at human beings from a purely biological, evolutionary perspective, we aren't just Homo sapiens, the wise man.
No.
We're something else entirely. The source playfully, but, scientifically, classifies us as Homo perverto.
Homo perverto. It sounds like a joke, doesn't it?
It does.
It sounds like something you'd hear on a late-night comedy sketch. But the evolutionary logic behind it is it's incredibly sound, and that's what we're going to unpack.
Yeah.
The central premise we're exploring today is the Homo perverto paradox.
Right. And I want to set the stage for you, the listener, here, because this paradox is the engine that drives the whole discussion. Here's the core tension. We, as a species, are obsessed with sex.
Oh, massively.
Like really, really obsessed. And we're not just talking about doing it. We're talking about the fact that we spend an inordinate amount of time thinking about it.
Pursuing it.
Pursuing it, dressing up for it,
Yeah.
singing songs about it, writing movies about it. I mean, it pervades our advertising, our art, our daily motivation.
It's the background hum of human existence. But, and here's the kicker, the part that makes it a paradox. When you look at the actual mechanics of reproduction in the animal kingdom, the way humans do it is wildly inefficient.
Inefficient is putting it mildly.
Yeah, it's a disaster.
It really is.
Yeah.
If the goal is simply to transfer genetic material from point A to point B to create offspring,
Yeah.
humans are doing it all wrong.
Totally wrong.
We are wasting time, we are wasting energy, and we are wasting resources on a scale that would get any other animal species extinct. So that is our mission today. We're going to try to answer the question, why? Why do we spend so much energy and brain power on something that, for most other animals, is just a quick blink and you miss it biological transaction?
Exactly. Why is human horniness, as the source puts it, a runaway feedback loop that just never seems to turn off?
And to do that, we have to step outside of our own cultural bubble. This is the hardest part for people.
It really is.
We can't look at this through the lens of romance novels or modern dating apps or, what your parents told you about the birds and the bees. We have to look at it through the eyes of a hypothetical observer.
And the source suggests a chimp scientist.
I love this concept. I want everyone listening to visualize this right now. You're not a human being anymore. You're a chimpanzee.
Mm-hmm.
You're wearing a little white lab coat, maybe you have a clipboard and a pair of spectacles, and you are observing humans in their natural habitat. You don't know anything about love or marriage or swiping right.
Nope.
You just know biology.
Exactly. This chimp scientist is looking at us purely objectively, analyzing our anatomy and our behavior and just trying to make sense of the data. And the first thing this chimp scientist notices, the thing that stands out before we even open our mouths, is our skin.
The skin. This seems like such a basic thing, but it's actually a huge differentiator, isn't it?
It is the primary visual difference. I mean, think about the rest of the great apes. Gorillas, chimps, orangutans. What do they all have in common?
They're fuzzy. They're covered in thick fur.
Right. And biologically, fur serves a specific function regarding touch and social interaction. Skin with fur likes to be scratched. It's a grooming mechanism.
Sure.
You've seen nature documentaries where monkeys are sitting around picking at each other.
Yeah, they're picking out lice, dirt, flakes of skin. It looks like a spa day, but it's very specific. It's a scratching motion.
Exactly. It's vigorous, it's utilitarian, but humans, we are these giant, naked, hairless apes. We are an anomaly.
Odd ones out.
And skin without fur.
Yeah.
It doesn't want to be scratched in the same way. It wants to be caressed.
Caressed. That's a very different sensation.
It is. And the source makes a fascinating observation here that I think most people have never considered. In most apes, the only naked, hairless skin they have, the only skin that resembles human skin, is on their genitals.
Okay, let's unpack that because that's a wild image. You're saying that to a chimp, naked skin equals genitals.
Correct. That is the association their brain makes. Naked skin is for sex, fur is for everything else. So a chimp looks at a human and sees that we are hairless basically everywhere. Our faces, our chests, our arms, our legs.
So to this chimp scientist, we look like we're walking around inside out.
Or rather, we look like we are flashing a sexual signal constantly. And it's not just visual, it's physiological. Because our skin is hairless, it is loaded with sexual nerves in a way that fur-covered skin isn't.
Wow.
The source points out that we have these extraneous hot spots all over our bodies. We have nerve endings in our inner thighs, the backs of our knees, our toes, our nipples, our necks.
The earlobe.
The earlobes, which to a chimp makes absolutely no sense. I mean, why would you need sexual sensitivity on the back of your knee?
Right. Biologically, what is the function of that? You're not making a baby with the back of your knee.
Exactly. From the chimp scientist's perspective, these areas are miles away from the actual reproductive organs. It's biologically confusing. It's inefficient. Why waste precious nerve endings on the neck?
Right.
But the source argues that because we have this hairless skin sensitive to caress covering our entire body, a human being is essentially built to be one giant genital.
One giant genital. That is, that's quite the mental image. It sounds like an insult you'd hear on a playground.
It does, you giant genital.
Yeah. It is vivid, but it's an anatomical reality.
Mm.
The source even goes so far as to say that when you look at a naked woman, biologically speaking, you are seeing a giant clitoris.
Whoa,
Right.
okay, explain that.
Well, think about what the clitoris is. It's a bundle of nerve endings designed specifically for sensation, not for the mechanical transport of urine or anything else.
It's purely a sensory organ. Purely. The source is arguing that because human skin has evolved to be so sensitive to touch, to the caress, the sensitivity that is usually localized just to the reproductive organ in other animals is spread across the entire surface area of the skin in humans.
So the whole body has become the receiver.
Precisely. The zone of reception isn't just a few square inches, it's the whole 2 square meters of skin.
Wow.
And for men, the source notes, and pardon the language here, but it's the quote, men are dicks, but in a good way.
I feel like I've heard that before, but usually not in the scientific context.
Right. But the implication is the same. The entire body has become an instrument of sexual reception and display. We are talking sensory maps.
So our chimp scientist is already scratching his head. He's looking at his clipboard, looking at us and thinking, okay, these humans have way too much sensory input. They're wired like a Christmas tree. This seems like a waste of copper wire.
It seems like a massive waste of biological resources. Why build a machine with the sensors everywhere if you only need them in one place?
Yeah.
But then, the chimp scientist stops looking at the anatomy and starts watching how we actually interact. He starts watching our courtship rituals.
Oh, boy.
And this is where the inefficiency really becomes apparent.
This is where the comedy tragedy of human dating comes in.
The chimp scientist would look at human dating and ask, all this wasteful teasing, what is the point? Why are you talking? Why are you eating fermented leaves alcohol together? Why are you putting on different colored fabrics?
The source throws out a statistic here that I think anyone who has ever been single can relate to. Painfully.
Oh, yeah.
It's the 999 out of 1,000 rule.
Yes. The author tallies up their own pickup attempts, and we can assume this applies broadly, and estimates that 999 out of 1,000 human flirtations do not end in fornication.
That is a terrible success rate.
Uh-huh.
I mean, think about it. If you were a salesperson and you closed one deal out of 1,000 leads, you'd be fired immediately.
Oh, immediately.
Can't be out on the street. But in human evolution, that's just Tuesday. That's standard operating procedure.
It is abysmal efficiency. Now, compare that to the chimp. The source describes the chimp's courtship process as ruthlessly, brutally efficient.
Males. Okay.
When a male chimp wants sex, he doesn't write a poem. He doesn't wonder if he should wait 3 days to text back.
He doesn't check his horoscope.
No, he has a move. A singular move. The source calls it displaying boingitude.
Boingitude. I love
Yeah.
that. It captures the essence perfectly. So what is the move? Paint the picture for us.
The male chimp sits down, he spreads his legs, he exposes the only hairless part of his body, his genitals,
Right.
and he flicks it with his finger.
He flicks it.
He gives it a little flick to
Right.
signal interest, to make it move, to catch the eye. That is the pitch. That is the entire marketing campaign.
It's the direct approach. Here it is. Interested.
And if the female is interested, she exposes her hairless part, she presents, and that's it.
Deal closed.
Deal closed. They usually skip the kiss, they skip the foreplay, and they start copulating immediately.
It's purely transactional. Signal sent, signal received, execution. Done in seconds.
No ambiguity. No, what did he mean by that emoji?
But humans, oh man. The source describes the human process as the road to the clitoris.
And for humans, that road is long, winding, and full of potholes.
It's a cross-country road trip with no GPS.
Think about the mechanics. A male Homo sapiens cannot simply expose an erection from 10 feet away and expect a positive result.
No.
That strategy, as the source notes with some understatement, just doesn't work.
Try that in a bar and see what happens.
Yeah,
You're not getting a date. You're getting a restraining order.
you're getting arrested.
You're getting arrested. Socially, that is the nuclear option.
Exactly. So the human male has to start as far away from the genitals as possible. He has to start with conversation. He has to start with eye contact.
Maybe a touch on the arm if he's bold.
If he's bold. The source notes that the journey from the neck to the genitals can take weeks.
Or months. The source jokes that at their college, it took months. And the chimp scientist is watching this going, you guys are starving to death. Look at all the calories you are burning.
It is a massive caloric waste. Let's break it down. You have to groom yourself. That takes energy.
Sure.
You have to travel to a meeting place energy. You have to buy dinner financial resources, which represent energy.
Right.
You have to talk for hours burning glucose in the brain. You have to stress about whether they like you. Cortisol spikes, more energy, all just to deposit a tiny bit of genetic material.
From a survival standpoint, it looks like a disaster. You are spending energy that could be used for hunting or gathering or sleeping or building a shelter. You're wasting it on awkward small talk.
And often it leads nowhere. Remember the 999 out of 1,000 rule?
That's the part that hurts.
You do all that work, spend all those calories, and then she says, I see you as a friend. The chimp scientist would throw his clipboard across the room.
Yeah, you would.
He'd say, this species is doomed. They're too inefficient to survive.
So we have the anatomy of a giant genital, which is weird, and we have the efficiency of a bureaucracy, which is frustrating. But the source says it goes even deeper than that. It's not just our bodies and our behavior. It's our brains. We literally have pervert brains.
We do, and I want to be clear here. This isn't a moral judgment. We aren't calling you a pervert in the sense of being creepy. We are talking about neurological mapping.
Right.
If you look at the primary sensory and motor cortices in the human brain, the parts that control feeling and movement, there is a map of the body called the homunculus.
Right, the little man map in the brain. I remember seeing this in a psychology textbook once. It's a drawing of what a human would look like if our body parts were sized according to how much brain space they take up.
Exactly. And if you look at that drawing, it's a monster. It's grotesque.
What does it look like?
Well, the back, the torso, it's tiny. It's a sliver. Your brain barely cares about your back unless it hurts. But the hands, they're giant, like baseball mitts.
Because we use them for tools, for sensing.
Right. But then you look at the face. The lips are enormous. They're thick, giant balloon lips. The tongue is huge. And the genitals, they take up a disproportionate amount of brain real estate.
So we have high-definition sensing for those specific parts. We have 4K video feeds for the lips and the genitals, and a blurry black and white feed for the rest of the body.
Huge amounts of processing power. And the source argues that this allocation of space evolved specifically because, well, foreplay became more important than philosophy.
That's a great line. Foreplay became more important than philosophy. Wait, so you're saying we could have used that brain space for something else?
Theoretically, yes. I mean, brain tissue is expensive. It consumes a huge amount of the body's energy. If we didn't need that sensitivity on the lips and tongue for sexual selection and bonding, maybe we could have used it for better pattern recognition.
Or better memory, or faster reflexes.
Sure, but we didn't. We invested in the kiss.
We are wired for it. The source claims the only thing humans like better than curiosity is touching and being touched. I'll take fornication over fascination any day.
It's funny because we pride ourselves on our intellect, right? We call ourselves Homo sapiens, wise man. But our brain structure is just screaming, touch me! It really is.
The hardware is designed for sensation, not just calculation.
And this emphasis on touch and foreplay extends the duration of the act itself. This is another data point for our chimp scientist. He's looking at his stopwatch now.
Oh yeah, the time comparison. This one really blew my mind when I first read it. We assume that sex takes a certain amount of time because that's what we experience, but in nature, it's a pit stop.
How long does it actually take other primates to finish the job?
Okay, so baboons, about 8 seconds.
8 seconds. That's a Vine video. That's shorter than a TikTok. You can't even get comfortable in 8 seconds.
Gorillas and chimps, about 15 seconds.
So you could miss it if you blinked. Literally. If the chimp scientist dropped his pen and bent down to pick it up, he'd miss the whole reproductive act of a gorilla.
Essentially, yeah. It's purely functional. Insert, deposit, retreat. But humans, even if you exclude the dinner and the movie and the months of texting, right, just the act itself.
The actual act of sex for humans lasts, on average, 100 times longer than most monkeys or apes.
100 times longer. That is an order of magnitude difference.
And the source is a funny little aside here.
Yeah.
It notes that the scientists who calculated this average didn't even include the courting or the postcoital cuddling.
Right.
The author speculates that maybe the scientists were celibate, so they didn't realize how much time actually goes into it.
Note to self. Insight into scientist celibacy.
I loved that. But it emphasizes the point. We are dragging this process out. We're making a production out of it.
We are.
We are turning a 15-cycle transaction into a 30-minute or hour-long event.
We are. And we are surrounding it with what the source calls superfluous behavior.
This is the stuff that really makes us human, right? The art, the music, the fashion.
Yes, but the source frames it as biologically unnecessary. Think about it. Painting pictures, singing songs, building towers, wearing fancy clothes. From a strict survivalist perspective, if you are just trying not to starve or get eaten by a lion, none of this helps. Right. A beautiful painting doesn't stop a leopard from eating you. A nice song doesn't fill your stomach.
It's useless for survival in the strict sense, but we do it anyway. And we use it for courtship.
To impress.
To impress. No other animal strokes, talks, smiles, flirts, and engages in fashion and fetishism like Homo sapiens.
What about the bonobos? I feel like we have to address them. I always hear the bonobos are the free love hippies of the primate world. They solve everything with sex.
They are the closest to us. Bonobos and chimps are our closest genetic relatives. And yes, bonobos do have a high frequency of sex, and they use it for conflict resolution.
Right.
If two bonobos fight over a piece of fruit, they might have sex to calm down.
Right. They shake hands with you. Well, not their hands.
Exactly. But the source makes a key distinction, and this is crucial. Bonobos are promiscuous, but they are not romantic.
No romance.
The source asks, when is the last time you saw a male bonobo playing guitar beneath a female's tree? When is the last time you saw a bonobo painting a portrait of his lover?
That's a fair point. I have not seen that.
They don't idealize their lust interest. They don't have modesty. They don't encumber sex with clothing or operatic preliminaries.
You just get the job done.
They just get it done. Humans are unique because we wrap the biological act in layers and layers of meaning, ritual, and delay. We have turned sex into an opera.
So, okay, we've established that we are weird, we're hairless, we're slow, we're inefficient, we're obsessed with foreplay, and we write songs about it.
Right.
The big question is, how did this happen?
Right.
What was the evolutionary trigger that turned us into Homo perverto? Because evolution doesn't usually reward waste.
No, it doesn't. Usually evolution is a ruthless cost cutter. If something wastes energy, it gets eliminated. So if human horniness stuck around, it must have a massive payoff.
It has to.
And the source describes it as a specific evolutionary sequence. It's a domino effect that created a runaway feedback loop.
Okay, let's trace the dominoes. Where does it start?
It starts with the female of the species. In most animals, including most primates, the female is only sexually receptive during a very specific window estrus or heat.
Right, the closed sign is up for 90% of the year.
Exactly. And when she is in heat, she signals it, often visually. Her genitals might swell or turn red. She releases pheromones. It's a broadcast signal. I am fertile right now.
And the males know it.
The males go crazy for that short window, and then they ignore her for the rest of the time. It's very on-off.
But humans broke that cycle.
Hominid females evolved year-round sexual receptivity. They became available, theoretically, all the time. The close sign was taken down permanently.
Okay, so step one, the female is always an option.
And this selected for males who were year-round horny. Think about the math. If you're a male who only wants sex once a year, but the females are available all year, you are going to get outcompeted by the guy who wants it every day.
The daily guy is going to have way more chances.
Correct. So the gene for constant desire starts to win, but then comes the next step, and this is the strategic twist. This constant attention put pressure on females to evolve concealed ovulation.
Meaning they ovulate secretly.
Right. In many primates, as we said, ovulation is advertised. In humans, it is hidden. It is completely invisible. Even the female often doesn't know exactly when it's happening without a calendar or a thermometer.
So the male definitely doesn't know. He doesn't know when the jackpot creates a baby.
Think of it like a game of poker. In a chimp game, the female shows her hand. I have the ace of spades, the egg.
Yeah.
The male sees it, bets everything, and wins.
Easy game.
Easy game. But in the human game, the female hides her cards. She never shows the ace. So if the male wants to win the pot, the offspring, he has to keep betting.
He has to keep playing.
He has to keep playing hand after hand after hand.
You have to keep having sex just in case this is the time.
Exactly. This created the feedback loop. Concealed ovulation led to even more horniness because you had to try constantly to hit the target, which led to more selection for constant desire. And this loop just kept amplifying until we ended up with the extreme sexual drive we have today.
It's an arms race, a sexual arms race.
It is. And when you look at the stats on where that drive goes, it's shocking how disconnected it is from making babies.
The stats are staggering.
The source notes that at least 3/4 of fertile female sex occurs with 0 chance of conception.
0 chance. We're talking about doing it when she's already pregnant or during the non-fertile parts of the cycle.
And the remaining quarter has a relatively slim chance compared to animals that go into heat. Plus, humans are unique in their desire to mate after menopause and into old age.
Biologically, if the only point is reproduction, sex after menopause is literally pointless.
It is.
It's a biological dead end.
From a strict sperm meets egg perspective, yes. So the chimp scientist is screaming, what is the point? Why all this extra sex? Why the erogenous zones? Why the brain space? Why are you doing it when you can't make a baby?
And this brings us to the pivot, the solution to the paradox.
Yeah.
Because nature isn't stupid. There has to be a reason.
The solution lies in redefining the goal. The source argues that for baboons, the primary function of sex is to make children. Okay. But for humans, the primary function of sex is to raise children.
To raise them. That changes everything.
It does. I mean, think about a human baby. Have you ever really looked at a newborn?
They're lumps. They're useless lumps.
They are. A baby horse can run within an hour of being born. A baby chimp can cling to its mother's fur and ride around. A human baby, it can't even hold its own head up.
It can't walk for a year?
It can't walk for a year. It takes nearly 2 decades to become independent.
They are extrogestates, fetuses outside the womb.
Exactly. They require an insane amount of resources. Food, protection, shelter,
Teaching.
A single mother in the ancestral environment on the savanna, with predators everywhere, would struggle immensely to raise a child alone. The success rate would be very low.
She needed help. She needed a partner.
She needed the male to stick around. She didn't just need his sperm. She needed his protein. She needed his protection. She needed him to not wander off to the next female.
So how do you keep a male who is biologically programmed to spread his seed from wandering off?
You make the bond irresistible. You make the staying more rewarding than the leaving. The source argues that the human pair bond was so crucial for childhood development that nature prioritized it over everything else. Genes that favored omnisexuality, constant year-round desire, the ability to bond through pleasure, they outcompeted genes for preserving energy.
So we traded energy efficiency for relationship glue.
We did. The source explicitly states, the point of human sex is to make love.
It sounds like a greeting card. It sounds like something you'd read on a Valentine's Day card.
Yeah.
But it's actually a hard-nosed biological strategy.
It is. We evolved to bond. The oversized penises, the permanent breasts, which most animals don't have unless lactating, the myriad perversions and creative sexualities, they all evolved to ensure that males would be interested enough to stick around and babysit.
So the giant genital body plan isn't a mistake. It's a trap. A fun trap, but a trap.
It's a mechanism to maintain interest over the long haul. The source highlights a persistent tension in our species between the sperm spreaders and the egg protectors.
The males wanting to spread genes and the females wanting to protect the investment.
Right. And in our species, that tension equals sex. The The complexity, the chase, the difficulty, it keeps the dynamic alive. If sex were easy and boring, the male might leave. If it's complex, rewarding, and varied, he stays.
There's a really interesting paradox the source mentions regarding bad morals. We often hear people complain, religious leaders, conservative thinkers, that society is too obsessed with sex and that it's bad for the children. Think of the children.
Yes, think of the children. It's a classic rallying cry. But the source flips this on its head. It argues that children are actually the cause of the adult obsession with sex.
We are perverts because of the kids.
If human children didn't need two parents to survive, we wouldn't need this intense, constant sexual drive to keep the parents together. We would be like the bears or the chimps mate part ways.
Right.
The source says, for adults' bad morals, I blame the children.
That is hilarious. Blame the kids for your horniness. Sorry, I'm late, honey. The kids made me do it.
Source. It reframes the whole concept of perversion. The source argues that when religious fundamentalists condemn unnatural sexual practices, things that don't lead to procreation, they have it wrong.
How so?
The purpose of human perversion, or let's call it creative sexuality, is not procreation. Its purpose is to preserve marriage.
The best way to save the family is to celebrate creative sexuality. That's a bold statement.
It suggests that keeping the spark alive, exploring those extraneous hotspots, using that brain real estate for pleasure, that is actually the biological glue holding the family unit together so the genes can survive.
It really makes you rethink the role of desire. It's not just a base instinct. It's the foundation of our social structure. If we didn't have this drive, we wouldn't have families. If we didn't have families, we wouldn't have survived.
Precisely. The perversion is the glue of civilization.
But the source doesn't stop there. It takes this biological drive and connects it to, well, everything. It goes from the bedroom to the cathedral.
This is the philosophical conclusion, and it is profound. The host poses a thought experiment to the reader. You have trillions of ancestors, going back to the very beginning of life.
To the slime mold.
To the slime mold, to the fish, to the lizard, to the ape.
Trillions of them.
What is the one true thing you can say about every single one of them?
Well, let's see. It's not that they were smart. Some of them were probably idiots.
Definitely.
It's not that they were strong. Many probably died young or were weak or got eaten.
Correct.
It's not that they were even aware they existed. The single-celled organisms definitely didn't have self-awareness.
No. The only thing that is true for 100% of your ancestors, without a single exception, is that they reproduced.
They succeeded.
The chain is unbroken. If even one of them, one specific great-great-great-grandmother, had decided, not tonight, or had gotten eaten before she could mate, you wouldn't be here.
That is heavy to think about. An unbroken chain of success going back billions of years. We are the winners of the lottery.
We are the result of a tournament of champions that has lasted 3.5 billion years. And because of that, the source argues that the race to reproduce is the defining characteristic of life.
The ultimate winners.
Only the best reproducers won, every single generation.
So we are the champions.
We are. And because of that, the most powerful force in our bodies is the accumulated desire of all those ancestors. It is refined, concentrated, and made more powerful than any desire we imagine more important.
The horny force.
You could call it that. It sounds funny, but think of it as a life force, a primal drive. The source argues that we should think of all human needs as sub-needs arising from this desire to procreate.
Okay, so how does that apply to things like art or religion? Because I don't feel horny when I'm looking at the Mona Lisa. Well, maybe some people do, but generally.
It's not about the immediate feeling. It's about the evolutionary origin. The argument is that our hunger for love, our ambition to succeed at work, our desire to belong to a
Our
group,
urge to create beautiful things.
our curiosity about the stars, even our fear of death and our ache for God, all of these qualities evolved only to the extent that they served the reproduction of genes.
Explain the God part. How is the ache for God a sub-need of reproduction?
Think about it. Religion binds groups together. It creates shared values. It lowers stress. It promotes longevity.
Okay.
Groups that had religion might have outsurvived groups that didn't. Therefore, the gene for religion gets passed down because it helps the reproducers survive.
Or art. I paint a painting. Why?
Maybe because being a creative person makes you a more attractive mate. It signals, I have excess energy, I am clever, I have good dexterity. That helps you pass on your genes.
Or because painting binds the community together, which creates a safer environment for your offspring.
Exactly. Or because the feeling of transcendence you get from art keeps you motivated to survive another day in a harsh world. It all leads back to the drive to continue the line.
It's a unifying theory of humanity. Everything we do is a ripple effect of that ancestral drive. We are building skyscrapers and writing symphonies because a billion years ago, a single cell wanted to divide.
Exactly. Biology Boy explains it all. We are complex vessels for a very simple drive.
Speaking of Biology Boy, the source ends with a little bit of dating advice, or at least a validation, because after hearing all this, that we are built for sex, that we are obsessed with it, you might feel a bit frustrated if your personal life isn't reflecting that.
Yes. It asks the question. So if everybody is so horny, if we are all walking around flashing neon signals, why can't you find a date?
Which is the ultimate question.
Yeah.
If we're all walking around with these pervert brains,
Yeah.
shouldn't it be like the chimps? Flick, present, done.
But remember the inefficiency. Remember the road to the clitoris. Evolution made it complex on purpose.
Right.
It made it difficult to ensure commitment.
Right. If it were easy, it wouldn't work as a filter.
Exactly. The difficulty is the test. If someone is willing to navigate the awkwardness, the time, the expense, and the emotional risk to be with you, that signals they are likely to stick around and help raise the offspring.
So the games people play,
Yeah.
waiting to text back, playing hard to get, those are actually ancient biological tests.
They're commitment assays. So if you can't find a date, it's not necessarily you. It's the complex machinery of evolution working exactly as it should to filter for the best possible bond.
It's not you, it's biology. That is surprisingly comforting.
It takes the pressure off, doesn't it?
It does. So let's recap what we've learned from our chimp scientist friend. We've covered a lot of ground here.
We have. We've learned that humans are homo perverto. We are giant, hairless, walking, erogenous zones.
We've learned that we are incredibly inefficient at courtship, wasting calories on 999 failed attempts for every one success, and dragging out the process for weeks or months.
But we've learned that this inefficiency is a feature, not a bug. It's designed to create a pair bond strong enough to raise helpless children.
We've learned that our brains are wired for foreplay over philosophy. The map in our head prioritizes the kiss over the calculus.
And finally, that everything we consider higher, culture, art, religion, love, is deeply rooted in the successful reproductive drive of our ancestors.
It really changes how you look at the world. Next time you see a couple on a date, awkwardly making small talk, sipping overpriced coffee,
You realize you are watching an ancient calorie-burning ritual designed to test for babysitting potential.
it takes the romance out of it, but it adds a layer of biological wonder.
It really does.
So here's a final thought to chew on as you go about your day. We talked about how all our higher traits, our art, our religion, our capacity for deep love, are essentially evolutionary tactics to keep us interested in each other long enough to raise kids.
Right. They are means to an end.
Does knowing that diminish their value? Does knowing that love is just a chemical trick to make you a co-parent make it less special?
That's the worry, isn't it? That science kills the magic.
But think about the alternative. If the drive to reproduce, this simple biological urge, is powerful enough to invent poetry and cathedrals and the concept of justice and the feeling of awe, maybe we shouldn't look down on the drive.
Maybe the drive is the special part.
Maybe the biological drive itself is something sacred,
If the horny force built civilization, maybe it's the most spiritual thing we have.
something to think about. Maybe biology and divinity aren't as separate as we think.
Absolutely.
Keep asking questions and maybe take a moment to thank your ancestors for the horniness that got you here. You are the tip of the spear of an unbroken chain of desire. Don't break the chain.
Well, no pressure.
No pressure.
Thanks for diving in with us. We'll catch you next time.